Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from Decapitation entitled Terrasite. But before we do that, I've got a very special announcement to make to y'all right now. The Metal Meltdown, by popular demand, has launched its own unique official Discord server. Listen, I like y'all. I like talking to y'all. I like hanging out with y'all. I like it when you send me music. And this will be a great place for all of that to happen, even more so. It's not hidden, there's no paywall. All you gotta do is follow the link in the description of this video, or the link that will be featured on the main channel page of this, channel, duh. So pop on by, learn more about some upcoming videos and live streams and such, talk about some cool music, send some goofy-ass memes. The whole thing will be moderated by myself and my wife, Anna, and it'll be fun and cool and good and great, hopefully, and stuff. Hopefully. Yeah. See you there. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's officially start talking about Terrasite, the 10th full-length studio album from this American technical, melodic, brutal deathgrind crew? I don't know what genre they would fall under. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Their music goes crazy fucking hard. The 2010s in particular were an awesome time to be a Decapitation, as they dropped back-to-back fucking masterpieces all decade long with Monolith of Inhumanity, Anthropocene Extinction, and Death Atlas. They've just gotten so much more intense and exciting and brutal and progressive, both musically and politically, tackling environmental and social issues, specifically within this past decade. Don't get me wrong, early records like Human Jerky, Homivore, Humanure, they have this gross, gory charm to them that has aged quite well. But very simply, they just pale in comparison to the past decade of Decapitation toonery, and as such, Terrasite has been one of the most anticipated studio albums of 2023 for a slew of metalheads, including myself. And I am very proud to announce, to reveal, to confirm that Terrasite is worth absolutely every single bit of hype thrown its way. It builds on the accomplishments and the ambitions of its predecessors, expands in a lot of new and exciting ways. It goes into some dark and at times emotional and poignant territory. In an interview I did with guitarist Josh Elmore here on the Metal Meltdown, Josh confirmed that the album was heavily inspired by stress brought up by the COVID-19 pandemic, a slew of social and environmental issues specifically within these past few years, as well as the experience dealing with the death of longtime friends and collaborators like Trevor Strnad of the Black Dahlia Murder and Gabe Serbian of The Locust, also a former band member who worked on their first two records. On top of that, the album also has its own full-blown concept, consistently depicting a new race of insectoid creatures rising from the ashes of humanity, taking the place of humanity, feasting upon the broken world left behind. With Travis Ryan explaining in a press release, we've all heard the old saying about how the cockroach is so pervasive, so invasive, so insidious, that they could survive a nuclear war. Our previous album, Death Atlas, left the world blackened and lifeless, or so we thought. It turns out that the carbon-encrusted bodies that adorned the album's layout and music video were actually more of a cocoon stage for something much more vicious to come, Humanity 2.0. Having lived the torturous existence of being a human, they have now re-emerged into a new world, saddened, pissed, rebirthed as a new variant of human disease, now adapt to continue and finish the utter ravaging of its home planet Earth. And if that alone, for you, fails in establishing the tone and vibe of this record, surely the album's opening number, Terrasitic Adaptation, will. Decapitation's trademark brand of over-the-top, death-grind, brutal death metal, tech-death fusion pummeling remains intact, more bombastic, more over-the-top, more exhilarating than ever before. Pulverizing riffs and percussive assaults delivered at breakneck speed, snarling, shrieking vocal assaults and dynamics all over the place. I feel as if I've been mowed down by this song. Like I'm a blade of grass, and right now Decapitation is a lawnmower. The way that the track itself opens before we even get to these hyper brutal moments is pretty fantastic too. There are some very ominous, subdued backing vocals with some weird kind of buggy textures. It honestly kind of sounds like a swarm of like locusts kind of like coming into the forefront of the sound. Just like they've taken over the recording studio itself. They're swirling around in your headphones. Following tracks, We Eat Our Young and Scourge of the Offspring build upon this incredibly volatile momentum quite effectively. The speed, the attitude, the intensity, it's just incredible. The apocalyptic hellfire that inspired Death Atlas absolutely rearing its head on these cuts, especially We Eat Our Young, which doesn't even include some of Travis Ryan's trademark nasally cleans. I really like that, though, because with this particular song, we're still within, like, the first, 10 minutes of the album, so it kind of helps to sell just how brutal this whole thing is gonna be. When clean vocals do pop up again on Scourge of the Offspring, having not heard them for a bit, it also makes it all the more cathartic. Scourge of the Offspring also stands out for having a slew of crunchy, groove-laden passages that absolutely go the fuck off. There's also some really great breakdowns near the end with some monstrous bellowing gutturals. Then there's The Storm Upstairs, which has these machine gun rapid-fire bursts of crippling grooves and percussion and some grisly, grimy, kind of like classic tech death bass kind of sandwiched in between these sections, adding a lot of extra color and contrast and dirt. The very opening, too, has some kind of wailing guitars that you can hear in the background that almost kind of sounds like an actual, like, siren going off, like some kind of a emergency storm siren, like the kind of shit you would hear when an actual hurricane rolls through town. Then there's The Insignificance, which kind of piles on all these vocal textures and layers in the chorus, while opting for some more spacious, simplistic instrumentation, kind of stripping down the guitar and percussion stuff. It makes for something that feels really bold and important without compromising too much of the intensity and brutality, it being wedged in between, like, your standard sections of cattle decapitation pyrotechnics certainly helps as well, provides a nice contrast. Really love the final third of this track, though. You have these cleaner kind of guitar passages that they're kind of mysterious and shadowy, and that builds into an absolute sledgehammer of, like, shrieking, screaming, glass-shattering vocals. You have some kind of chunky, mid-pace death metal instrumentation alongside some weirder, more ambient, atmospheric vocal textures. For a hot minute, it honestly kind of feels like a 90s alt-metal band trying their hands at, like, deathgrind or tech death, Like, it would not shock me at all to hear that these guys were jamming some Faith No More when they were putting this particular section together. I really like And the World Will Go On Without You and how blunt and cynical and bitter it is. It has that same kind of like glossy apocalyptic candy coating that we loved oh so much from Death Atlas. The album's closing number, Just Another Body, on top of the hyper-technical, hypercharged attacks and assaults that we've come to recognize from Cattle Decapitation, throws in some more epic and grandiose little bits and pieces, some really ominous vocal chanting in the latter half. It also opens with some more melancholic, melodramatic, ominous keyboard work and some subtle strings. The whole song is maybe just a bit too long for my liking. I don't think it needed to be 10 minutes and 12 seconds long, but whatever, not a big deal. Still a really strong song, all things considered. I wouldn't say that Cattle Decapitation are doing anything like super brand new on this thing. If you're familiar with their post-Harvest Floor output, then you probably to a certain extent already know what to expect here. I would say that this album does a really good job at feeling fresh but familiar at the same time. Like, even though this is quintessentially a Cattle Decapitation record, and they're reusing a lot of the same tricks and techniques that they've used on previous records, it still has, like, a certain freshness to it, It's still really interesting. It makes me wonder if, in a few years, Cattle Decapitation can be viewed in the same regard as maybe a band like Cannibal Corpse or the Black Dahlia Murder, like one of those types of bands that can make basically the same album over and over again, and ain't nobody gonna object because it's fucking awesome. Performance-wise, everyone's doing an absolutely incredible job. Production-wise, I mean, this thing is clean and glossy and crisp. Everything is transparent in the forefront of the sound, but also there's a lot of fucking muscle and power behind everything. What more can I even say, folks? It's Cattle Decapitation doing what they do best, what they've been doing best for over a fucking decade now. I'm feeling a very strong 4.5 out of 5. The hype is so fucking real here. It's urgent, it's poignant, it's hellish, it's brutal, it's everything you really want from a Cattle Decapitation record. If you love Monolith, Anthropocene, Death Atlas, no reason whatsoever why you wouldn't also love this. In my opinion, one of the best records I've heard so far this year. Like, this will very likely be in my top 10. I can feel it already. I've been jamming this thing pretty nonstop since I got my promo copy, and I'm extremely excited to eventually pick this up on vinyl. I got nothing more to say, and I feel like I'm wasting your time at this point, because you probably just want to go listen to the record, so I'm going to let you do that, and we're going to wrap this up. 4.5 out of 5, fucking incredible, hell yes. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Look, an interview with Josh Elmore. Look, reviewing every Cattle Decapitation album. Wow. And as always, folks, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.